It's Karen from Divorce Workshop for another episode of Insights in Divorce. Tonight we have Kanika on. She's an energy and conscience coach, and I'm just going to invite her in. Tonight we're going to talk about stepping into the power after divorce or breakup. Workbook is out on Amazon, and if you'd like a free sample, you just go on our work website, www.divorceworkshop.ca.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. I said early good morning for you and evening for me.
How are you today?
Good. I have to remember that you're all the way over in Australia.
Correct.
And a pleasure for you to be on tonight. I know it's not that easy. So before we start, because I love this topic, you want to give everyone just a brief little introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I am Kanika. I am an energy and consciousness coach. And basically, what I teach people, to explain that, is I teach people to work with energy. We say everything is energy. We all get taught that. So basically, our happiness, our state of being is energy. Our relationship with our kids is energy. Our relationship with our ex-partners or current partners is energy. And I just teach you how to play with that energy and shift it so that it's something that you like instead of something that you don't like.
Yeah, so this is great because we know tonight we're talking about divorce and breakup, right? And so there's a lot of tough energy there. So stepping into that power, which I'm going to tell you, for me, in my life, it took me a while to step into that. You know, I felt the pull, I felt the energy, but it still took me a while. So do you want to talk about how we slowly transform that energy? Like, is it like challenging and unique for everybody? And just start off like talking about that.
Yeah, sure. And actually, I've been working with a lot of clients this week, and this is the amazing part, right? The more you go at it with a playful energy, the easier it is. Like, think of it when you were born, and I want you to go back to a time, let's say when you were 2 or 3 years old, and you probably don't remember that. Um, but let's say if you watch kids around that age, or if you just imagine yourself as a baby, you knew when you wanted your milk. You knew when you did not want to get out of the playground, and you put your foot down and you really stomped hard when someone took you out.
It's true.
If you want to practice, like, just go to any little child in your family or your friends and so on, and take the toy away. Like, just to get a taste of that.
Yeah, you'll see.
Yeah, just take their toy away, just for fun's sake. Just start playing with it and just go like, okay, this is what I'm taking, and they will tell you, like, no, like
Right.
no, like nobody's business.
They will.
So that is how we were born, right? And so we often say, and I use this as well, like stepping into our power. But I think reality is that we had our power. We just lost it, or we just gave it away.
Yeah. Lost or gave it away is, yeah, that's true.
And it's not that we do it out of choice. You know, sometimes there are rules, sometimes there's some judgments, sometimes there's some conditioning that we have, and we automatically, as we grow up, we just understand that, okay, this is a limit. For example, everybody goes to the toilet here. You know, you don't do it like wherever as a child, as a baby, I suppose. And there are other things that our parents tell us. Some of them are really in alignment with us, and some of them are not as much in alignment. But one time we had that agency. So yes, some of it we needed to have, but really what we just need to do is come back in and tune into our energy again and have more of that again. So maybe let me try and explain that with an example. Imagine that there's a glass of water and it has a particular color, like whatever color you like, right? What is your color?
I'd say blue.
Okay, all right. So a blue color glass. Now, if we are all born with a vibration, or we all have a certain vibration, so just to understand it, let's imagine that for you that is blue, and for me that could be something else, right? That was the glass that you were born with, and the glass has a particular width as well. I don't have a glass, but I have a copper water bottle with me.
Mm-hmm.
So let's imagine this, right? This is probably the size that you were born with, and this is filled with blue. Let's imagine.
Okay.
Now, as people are coming in, and maybe your mom and dad are telling you something, maybe you start going to school, or your boyfriend, your partners, they start telling you something. Imagine that those shades of blue, because they're not yours exactly, you're starting to take those colors. You're starting to bring in maybe a little bit of green, a little bit of gray, a little bit of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it is, even if it's a very sparkly color, if it's not in alignment with your vibration, the blue color in your glass starts getting a little muddy, right? Like if I
Yeah.
put a little bit of yellow, a little bit of gold, even silver, like all the sparkling colors, it still starts looking not so cool anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that is what happens to our vibration. So as we grow up, we start taking in other energies, other conditioning, and so on. And when you're not able to touch back with your blue, because your blue was your happiness, your blue was your inner guidance, your blue was your inner agency, we
Mm-hmm.
start losing that away. So the process of coming back to us is literally just taking those extra colors off. And doesn't matter, they could have come with a lot of love,
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
good intentions and prayers
Mm-hmm.
for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe there was a time when your best friend or your parents wanted you to marry a particular person and you didn't want to. So
Mm-hmm.
it might have come with love, but you didn't like it so
Right.
much. But it's just peeling back and coming back to those colors. In divorce, that would be something similar. It is just like you have your glass and whatever color it becomes now, everything in energy world is literally just that, shedding off the layers, shedding off those extra colors that are not yours anyway.
Yeah, I love that metaphor because as you were saying it, I'm picturing the glass of my blue, and then over the years how it turned into mud. And for me with my divorce it turned into really mud, right?
It
Because all
happens
my
a long
energy
time.
was sucked into there instead of having my own true self, right? So what's been happening, and I'm sure this happens with your clients as well, and then it happens with some of my clients, is that eventually some of their own color comes back. Is that right? Is that because
Yes.
I'm feeling, if I look at my life, like the last 7 years of my transformation, if I look at my glass now, it's more bluish than it ever was before,
Yes.
right?
Yes, but overwhelmingly, that's what you will hear from a lot of parents who've just moved out, or just
Mm-hmm.
lots of divorcing couples as well. But that feels shaky. A lot of a very common statement I hear there is, "It feels like my identity is
Yeah,
lost. Like I don't
yeah,
know me," and that is pretty
yeah.
much because what they're saying is, "I don't know my color anymore. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
cannot see that. Like it seems to be so confusing and so different right now because they're not seeing either they're blue or yellow, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not seeing that inner light. And then slowly, after you see them, maybe a year, sometimes it might take longer and so on. And then you can notice them shiny. And that shine, like that color is your shine. That
Mm-hmm.
color is your joy of life. And again, go back to kids, go back to how you were.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny that we need to grow up and learn to be happy because we knew that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
At the
lost
first,
it, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like it is, so it's perhaps stepping into power is not as much as stepping into power. It is just reclaiming your power back because you
Mm-hmm.
had it. Like
Mm-hmm.
you knew what made you happy. And yes, with the decisions, you were able to make your own decisions, or you knew what to do and so on. And somehow we follow the template of life
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
everybody tells us.
Mm-hmm.
But this is this funny cycle, right? If you can step back and just look at it, like there's a template we all have to follow. You start going to school, there's something you've got to do there. Then you've got to have your partner, so on, get married or have kids, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the general expectation in any country, in any society. Then you have kids or you have them later or so on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. And how come we all follow this template? And
Mm-hmm.
then we all sort of somewhere in between, we go like, but I'm not happy here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we have to, I think a lot of times with the clients I've worked with as well, because I do both divorce and grief, right? Is especially with the divorce ones, is as I said before, they've really lost themselves. and find it sometimes challenging to find out who they were
Mm-hmm.
again. So what is the like, is it a long process, do you find, or is everyone like, we know everyone's so unique, but for me it took a little while for me to step into my blue color again.
Yeah.
um
Energy is very funny. Like energy is also really quick. And the more you can do it, like this week, for example, I've had clients who were really depressed. Like there was one
mhm,
person, just, lady, and she's really depressed, unable to do anything and so on. And I just did a session with her yesterday. And she was just really good after that. Like you could see it.
mhm,
She was like,
mhm,
oh, I'm feeling really happy. But for a person who's depressed, who's sort of not able to get up from bed, who's not able to
mhm,
do other things, for them to go and go like, oh, I'm feeling really happy, that's a massive shift because
mhm,
it's just about playing with energy.
mhm,
So maybe I'll give you a snippet of what
mhm,
I do and how I work in the session, and that can be a really good takeaway for people as well.
mhm,
Is I'll just tell them, like, in the blue, I'll just start asking them to drain the extra colors.
mhm, mhm,
um,
mhm,
and think about it. We all have electrical appliances in our houses. They all have an earthing wire, all of them. The
mhm,
earthing wire is there so that if there's a fault, there's an excess negative charge, the earth takes that away. Now, we
mhm,
as human beings, we also get negative charges. It's a negative charge or it's an excess energy. If someone tells me to do something and I can't do it, we
mhm.
need a drainage system as well. And that's primarily why the blue gets muddy or whatever color
Yeah.
gets muddy, because we don't have a drainage system. And we have a really good supply. Like if we all just wanted to hook in, just hook in with the earth, go right to the center, and just imagine that your colors are draining out.
Mhm,
Whether you see it, whether you imagine it, whether you feel like, this is all just woo-woo,
mhm,
just
mhm,
play along with it anyway, because there's no harm. There's no side effect to doing this, right? Like just breathe, just imagine that your colors are draining away, and then just notice what happens. And that will start giving you a shift. I have
mhm,
never come across till date any person, and there are lots of clients who have different clinical things.
mhm,
I'm not saying that I'm a substitute for any medical illness or
mhm,
disorder. By
mhm,
all means, my services maybe are complementary, but I'm not
mhm,
certified for any of those services as such. But I have never had any client come so far, a child, a parent, who's done the exercise with
mhm,
me and who's gone like, hey, nothing's really happening. Because Earth is a very natural conductor. We just need to connect with it. That's why we feel good when we walk bare feet on the beach, when
mhm.
we go out and walk in nature. And it's just having that, continuing that even while you sit and work at your desk. Like just imagining that you have a connection with Earth, that you can drain off the excess charge and just play. Like just notice what happens. Don't take my word for it, but
So
play.
is it unique for everybody, right? Like when I did it, like I was thinking I would probably imagine like some, so say your ex is bothering you. So that
Mm-hmm.
is trying to get into your energy.
Correct.
And so you're going to, I would, for me, probably sit there and close my eyes and imagine that energy not getting into me,
Yes,
right? Like trying, is that one of another tool, like to try to, you can feel that energy coming in and then you're going to try to, is that
yes, so
also? Yeah.
yes, yes. So part of when you are draining it out, I would imagine just whatever is in your space, you just imagine that. Sometimes you see them as people, and exes
Mm-hmm,
are a very
mm-hmm,
good example.
mm-hmm,
And I would just take them and I would just put them, let the earth take care of it. There's nothing wrong that happens here because she is a very natural recycling person. She has a lot of gravitational pull, so she can
mm-hmm,
take things away as well. And whatever energy you give to her, she just brings it out, recycles it, purifies it, and then it goes wherever it's supposed to go. Like there is no energetic harm. If anything, you're giving them a healing as well. Because
mm-hmm,
let's say I like color yellow, okay, and your
mm-hmm,
color was blue. Now let's say for whatever reason, I told you something and my energy is sitting in your space.
mm-hmm,
The truth is that yellow is not available to me either. Like I've given
mm-hmm,
my energy away. It's not doing me good either. Even if it's given with love or if it's given with judgment, doesn't matter, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not doing me well because it's not in my space.
Mm-hmm.
And my yellow is just making your color muddy anyway.
Got you. Got you.
So when you drain it out, let's say you were draining out my yellow, you're actually giving a healing to me as well.
Mm-hmm. So it works both
So
ways,
it works.
right?
So it works both ways. And slowly, like there are people, for example, exes. Typically, we have karmic patterns with them. So there's a little bit more that you need to do, but
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean it's still complicated. You still come in as a child. Like, I think if there's one rule in my sessions, it is literally like just be like a child,
Mm-hmm.
like a 2-year-old or a
Mm-hmm.
3-year-old
Mm-hmm.
child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you cannot do this wrong.
Right. I wonder if
Have
that
fun.
also, sorry to interrupt, but I wonder if that's also a bit about self-compassion too, right? Like when, you know what I mean? Thinking, I don't know, I just came up in my head where I'm going, it's also almost like practicing self-compassion too, right? Like having, we tend to beat ourselves up a lot. And so sorry, I just brought that up because I'm thinking there's something to do with, bring yourself back to that child, but also, have self-compassion that you've done the
Yes,
best you can, right?
yes. And that's where we just hold ourselves. We are like just critical of ourselves. And you know what? Like doing this with kids and doing this with adults. When I do this with adults, we are a lot like, it is so hard for us to play. Like I say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we will just come and have a play. And all the adults, including me when I started,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
would go like, what do you mean play? Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but go back to the 2 or 3-year-old. That is all you knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
We get so
Mm-hmm.
lost and so disconnected. So we go like, what is it that,
Mm-hmm.
I have to play? What do you mean by that? But it's just really being easy. Playing is also giving yourself the permission to falter. So let's say you're draining out and you feel like, oh, it's not working. It's not 100%. It's just giving yourself permission to do it, like to be okay, to not be that serious. Like kids will, for example, color on walls, and they're not actually feeling bad about it the first time till someone's told
Yeah.
them that this is wrong.
Sure.
So this is that conditioning that comes in. But innately, we were just happy and we were just
Mm-hmm.
experimenting. We were just
Mm-hmm.
curious, like, let me do this. Let me try this here. Let me play with a lipstick. Let me, whatever things.
Mm-hmm.
You give them colors and, they want to like put their hands into it. You give them mud. They really want to play with it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not judging. They're not wondering if their clothes will get soiled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they won't. Yeah.
They just have, so it's not, compassion is also a learned concept afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
because in the beginning there's no judgment. In their eyes
Yeah.
there's no judgment, it's just okay. um, we judge ourselves.
Mm-hmm. We do.
We go,
We're very hard on that. We're very hard on ourselves, right?
yes, yes. So it is peeling back those layers and it is just coming like it is okay. And a lot of times what I find, especially with the, well, with all the adults, we hold people who have done something wrong to us. That can be our biggest block. But a bigger block than that is us.
Mm-hmm.
That block is like, why did I do this? Why did I let that happen to me? Whether you knew it, whether you did not know me,
Mm-hmm.
whether you did not know it, you just have a block. You.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so self-forgiveness, just having that compassion is such a huge thing. We work with it in the same way. And the more you can play as a child, the easier it happens and you start feeling the shift. Here's this. Like I was having something with my partner, like just in my relationship, we were feeling a little bit of, tightness around something.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I sort of both work on energy. So we talked about it. I mean, literally, it was just awareness. And I was telling him that, this is where I feel I'm blocking myself and I'm not being that open because I'm bringing up these past things. But I said it, and I think the next time, which was just like probably another 12, 11, 12, 14 hours, like not even very long. And it was just that. And I'm like, gosh, I could just open that up and I could just talk to you. And it was just so open and so easy. Because energy is so simple. Like the minute you've let, let's say, extra green color, extra yellow color go from you, from your
Mm-hmm.
space, immediately, first things are you feel relaxed because suddenly you have more space. And
Mm-hmm.
then because we bring in better vibrations and I bring in a lot of happiness and amusement and joy. And they go like, yeah, I feel so happy and I feel so good. So usually I say that clients take an hour or maybe 2 sessions of 2 hours at the max to start noticing a shift.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's about making these things a habit because we clean our house or we brush our teeth regularly, we shower regularly, and our own energy, when we become conscious of that, if we just keep cleaning it, it stays good. If we don't clean it, it can get murky again.
It's a great metaphor, right? If you don't clean it, it's going to get murky and dirty again. So the tools that you teach, I mean, after a while, can they can do them on their own,
But
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's not even like very long because it's pretty much like I told you, just connect with the earth and drain out those colors. It's not like it's actually the place where kids are very much into it. Kids sort of take
Mm-hmm.
onto it straight
Mm-hmm.
away.
Mm-hmm.
It's the adults who have a
Mm-hmm.
harder
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the tools are so simple because once for example, like this is my beginning tool, is all you've got to do is you just got to clean, you just got to connect with the earth and drain out the excess color. Like there's no more theory to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, if I'm sitting with you, I'll explain it and we'll do it together so you'll really understand it, what's happening. Um, but it's just as simple. And then it doesn't even take you as long. Like when I'm saying that, hey, you have to go around and you have to keep using it, you could just do it while you were brushing your teeth or while
Mm-hmm.
you were doing something else in the house. Like it actually doesn't have to be very like deep seated meditation or a deep seated
Right.
trance or anything.
Right.
You can sit down and have a very light meditation. You can also go around your day. And that's what I encourage. Like the more you do this, and you will notice, and people notice things for
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Like I've had clients who will go like, oh, like suddenly I used to be very anxious about, for example, having a meeting or leading a meeting. And there's this client of mine, she one day her car broke down, so she was in a dealership and there was this big meeting that she had to lead. And she's like, normally I would be very stressed and I would just call the meeting off. And she just went like, well, you know what? I'll do it. And she said, without like having all the stuff that would have been available to her and being in her own comfort zone, she just went ahead, did the meeting, led it. And she was like, this was best ever. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody
Mm-hmm.
noticed anything
Mm-hmm.
different. But becomes ease becomes a way of life rather than, oh, today was an easy day. But now I feel good. So it's long-term happiness versus short-term happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Short-term is like, maybe when you have a cup of coffee, it's a short-term happiness that you buy, but
Mm-hmm.
long-term happiness is when you can just be happy. So my clients will often tell me, oh, I did this, and then I don't know why, but I was just sitting there and laughing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very, very common theme that they'll tell me that, oh, I don't know why I've not laughed like that, but you're just reconnecting with your child. As a
Yeah.
child, you knew how to laugh. Like not laughing was a foreign state.
Mm-hmm. True.
And
We lose that.
some, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
somehow we become an adult and it is a little sad that our natural state becomes not being as happy. We sort of we think that that is what adult life is supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the truth. You just need to peel back the layers that are blocking you from that.
I'll tell you a quick story. So once that, and since you're all about the energies, once I separated from that X energy,
Mhm.
my girls and I were up north with my family, and we were playing a board game, a whole bunch of us. And I can tell you, I've never laughed so hard. I can remember it. It was like I was on the floor, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I remember going, I haven't laughed like that in years. And
yeah,
I'm not sure it was because I left that relationship and that energy, which was heavy, and I started, and then over the years, like just a couple of weeks ago, my partner and I were laughing, like giggling, and it feels wonderful, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
but I'm just saying that energy that I was with before was quite. It felt more dark, or not dark, but heavy.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And that is often the case. So a lot of times, especially in divorce cases, the first thing is to just separate from the ex, separate from the family. And again, it is, just giving stuff to the earth or to the universe, it gets purified. Um, but when you separate from that, two things are happening. So let's say in your cupboard, there are, 10 dresses, 20 dresses
Mm-hmm.
hanging out. Some of them are old, some of them are the ones that you're not going to wear anymore. And maybe some are your exes, some are programming that's been given to you. Some was maybe there's a teacher standing in there still telling you to do something a
Mm-hmm.
particular
Mm-hmm.
way. Maybe there's a boss, right? Like amongst those 20 dresses, say you have a couple that are out like that are just old,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't want, that are not serving you. When you take those dresses out, A, you have more space to breathe because now you have like your new,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that are just suiting
Mm-hmm.
you. So that's what you were saying, you separate from that. But you also have more space. And then what you can do, because now you have extra space, so now you can create, you can bring in more stuff that you actually like.
Mm-hmm.
So you can bring in new dresses. And that's also what we work on, like just bringing in stuff that you would really like. And because you do that, and everything is energy, when you focus your attention on something, it is just energy. It has been proven, there's a double slit experiment. So when you try and watch, well, now I'm really going off the scripted stuff that I usually talk about, but when you start watching electrons and you start watching their path, they're so conscious that they will actually change it.
Mm-hmm.
It's proven, it's a Stanford experiment that happened. But think about it, our cells, every single atom has electrons.
Mm-hmm.
So when we put our thought to anything, then it starts working. So whether it seems like playing, but this is the beautiful thing, right? Like I am saying, you don't need to have a medicine. You don't need to stand in different poses or do a dance.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm just saying, sit down, just have fun, just play for a little bit and just see the change. No side effects.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love
So
that. Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely. So when you start taking the old dresses away, suddenly you've got new space. And then in this new space, then you can think, oh, now this is what I want to have. So when you separated from your ex, then after a while, you had the clarity and you went like, okay, what is the new person that I want? Which
Mm-hmm.
sort of partner do I want? And you decided to not pick up a partner who was as heavy. So
That's
you
right.
got a light energy.
Yeah.
And then that feels much better to your system and your body aligns with it and you laugh more. Yeah, because you're stepping more into your blue.
Yeah. I love that. I just love that tonight some of the tools that you gave when people watch this is they can actually do these and they're simple, right?
Yeah.
So, and I love that because everybody is so bogged down with lots of things, especially when you're going through a divorce, especially that beginning process. But if they can start just doing those simple things, right?
Yeah.
It would really just, it kind of puts things more into clarity,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Like I remember the time when I was separating from my ex, and mine wasn't like we were in a really toxic relationship. But I was separating with my little son, and for his sake, I just wanted him to have, at least see us together and just
Mm-hmm.
have an easy time. So in the beginning, our time of sort of the handoff and taking over would be when my son would go for swimming. That would be a short class. We would sit together. We would just sort of talk about, maybe that was the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We would talk about how his week was, or just those little things, because he was very little at the time. He was just 4, and sometimes you need to just exchange notes on how your child's
Mm-hmm.
doing, maybe if they've been sick or so on. um, Anything from the teachers, anything. Um, but I would remember just going there and sitting there, and it wasn't even that he was saying anything at the time, but it just felt so hard to be
Mm-hmm.
in his presence and just have a normal conversation. And that wasn't to do with anything that was happening then, but it was all
Mm-hmm.
the past memories. It was all the past energy and all the past colors that I had been given that I did not
Mm-hmm.
like. So I would just sit with him, and a lot of times we wouldn't talk. And I would just sit and run my energy. Whatever I'm teaching now, I would just sit and do that on loop again and again while he was with me, because I would feel so anxious and so tight with him. Like my
Mm-hmm.
body, everything. I think a lot of people can relate with that. I would
Mm-hmm.
notice physical symptoms in myself, even without anything, like my heart would start racing. So I would just sit and run my energy, and I would do it. At that time, I was doing it more because that allowed me to breathe. Otherwise, It was just hard to be in his presence. That's all I would do. But then over time, and not very long, because, we would meet every Sunday, and that was half an hour of doing that. But after a while, I was like, oh, like I can just be here. And it doesn't seem that hard. And then after a while, like, we can really have very good conversations, easy conversations. We celebrate a lot of things together. And if people were to see us at school, a lot of the parents who don't know would just think we were like any other normal couple. I could have not imagined that at that time. In my wildest dreams, I could have not imagined that.
Yeah.
It was just so impossible. But it is possible. Like, I do it every day. Every day, our relationship is just so smooth now and just so easy. We have our boundaries, but it's just so easy. And I think a lot of it is definitely the energy work that came into it, because it was just, so let's say, an energy, let's say all the strands are how things are joined. They're all like sort of tight together and so on. And when it just starts getting cleared up, it's all just nice and smooth. When you work with energy like that, you just subconsciously put your thoughts there. That's how it works, because that's how the basic electrons, that's how basically everything in energy works. You put enough thoughts, you put enough focus to shift it. So it shifts in the real life.
Wow. Do you have any classes like that
Yes.
deal with that? Because I think, being that, you're in Australia, but we're in North America here, but there are, I'd like people to be aware of if you have some classes like this, because this would be a good complementary thing to help them with this as well, especially when they're co-parenting, which is, you divorce and that's one thing, but you now have to co-parent with this person for a long time. And so the best interest of the child is also, if it doesn't mean you're going to be, you have to be great friends with this ex or anything, because a lot of us can't be, but at least transition days, or when we have to talk about the child or children, we're not putting out that energy of toxicity, right? Like, so is there any classes, like, I think you have one, don't you?
Yes. So, like with my ex, I don't think we are friends, but definitely we can stand and we can have a conversation, and we can have a nice, logical, compassionate conversation for our child, because that's where we unite. But yeah, so that's possible. What I'm doing now is I am starting a course that will launch in January. So people can find out about that at artoflifecenter.com/parent, but the page is being made, so bear with me. But what I started doing is, because just magically, I think a lot of parents and a lot of their kids are coming into my life. So just DM me and I will set up some individual sessions with you to help you with those things. And you will start feeling a shift within the first or second session. Kids the same, but kids I would just take maybe if they're teenagers or older, just to be able to grasp that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it would be wonderful to definitely as another way to help in the recovery of divorce or breakup, right? Because sometimes you can.
A lot of what is happening then is there's just a lot of noise. There's just a lot of friction, or like the past stuff that comes in between, like stuff, you get worked up over things that were in the past that don't suit you. And in a way, logically, like this is not what I'm supposed to talk about. But you see them and something fires up. Your brain goes
right
in all the directions. Like logically, you understand that it's got to follow, there's a certain outcome that you're working towards, but it happens with both parties. But when you start working the energy, and that's what I would do, and whenever we would have any agreement, anything that we needed to talk about, I would just work with the energy of that. And all it does is, so like, you and I have energy, so you probably have maybe you have a blue color, or I have a yellow color. But everything has energy. Even the relationship has an energy. And whether you like it or not, with your ex, there is a relationship as well. So if you need to talk with them, when you clean that energy, everything has a vibration. So when you clean that, you take all that noise, all that extra stuff away, and your conversations with them will get a lot easier. So
Yeah.
especially if you have like a divorce hearing or a court hearing, financial hearing, anything where it's really significant, um, you can just sit down and, clean the energy for a little while. And even 15, 20 minutes of just doing that, it'll be a shift
Mm-hmm.
because it will be a shift. I have not seen anyone so far
Mm-hmm.
who's gone like, oh, this didn't work. I did this, but this didn't work. It just doesn't happen like that. There might be another layer that you hit. So, maybe you were not able to talk to them nicely. Maybe, the relationship just got very angry
Mm-hmm.
very quickly. So yes, you might have cleared that, and then you might hit another block after that, which could probably not be with anger, but it's like maybe some passive aggressive thing that's coming, or there's some trauma that they've had. So you might be healing some other layer after that, but if you worked on it, you will heal that bit,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
layer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it sounds really, I wish I had it
Yeah.
years ago, right? Because
Yes.
I think it would have helped. Healing I know takes time and recovery takes time, but this definitely would have been and can be helpful for many now. I'm just saying, boy, all these things I talk to so many people now and all these little beautiful courses and tools and coaches that they have now would have been very helpful for a lot of us that have gone through it like years ago. But I'm so
Yes.
glad you're doing
Oh,
this.
I was do I was learning the tools. So I was, teach learning from my teachers at the time, but that wasn't a course about parenting, or that wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
course about actually going through a separation or divorce. It was just what was happening in my life. So I
Mm-hmm.
started using the energetic tools for this. And to me, I did it, and it worked. But I think what I can guide now, because after you come through, then you know a whole lot more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for
That's true.
others, the
That's true.
transition can be a lot quicker than it had to be for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for coming on. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not sure if anyone have any questions. Put them in the comment. And otherwise, you have the course coming up in January.
Yes,
Um,
and meanwhile, people can just DM me for any like individual sessions. I'm only going to take them this year, probably next year. No, like just concentrating on the course and so on. So now is still a time to just book in one-on-one sessions with me.
mhm. Yeah, I think some of you guys should really look into it because especially if you're in that kind of a heavy time and you're really struggling with, especially with seeing your ex or you're having, transition days, you can be building up anxiety even before. Like, um, oh, thanks, love the chat. Look forward to more. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope to have you back on in January. I think we're in talks about that sometime.
Yes, yes, we will do that. Thanks a lot, Karen.
All right,
Thank you so
and
much. Pleasure to be here as always. Thank
yeah,
you.
and take care and have a good rest of your day while I settle down and go to bed.
Yes, enjoy.
All right. Thank
Good
you.
time.
Take
Lovely night. Bye bye.
take care. Bye.